I've heard a lot of people talk about sexuality being fluid, and I feel like that fits me to a T. I've identified as heterosexual, asexual, bisexual, and pansexual. I was very lucky for most of high school in that I had a best friend who I was very open with when it came to my sexuality. Every thought that went through my head, I knew I could spill to them. There was never really a coming out moment that I remember, but they were always the first person to know when I realized something new. I told them how I was feeling, and they helped me find a label since labels made me feel safe. Both of our sexualities evolved a lot through high school, and I don't remember ever feeling scared to tell them. As for coming out to my mom, the first time was difficult. I told her around the time that I was 15 that I thought I was asexual, and it didn't go as well as I'd hoped. She told me I was too young and that I just hadn't developed enough yet. It doesn't help that she was probably right. I wish she had been more supportive of it at the time, though. I feel like even if his sexuality is just a passing thing, the exploration of it should be encouraged, and the comfort I felt upon realizing that it was a thing should have been celebrated. The second time was much easier, but just as scary. There was a girl who we'll call Jane that I've had a crush on since freshman year. It took me over 2 years to realize what the feeling was, because I didn't think I liked girls. Once I realized it, I eventually plucked up the courage to tell my mom. She was in the kitchen, and I was in the living room. I shouted, "Mom, I like Jane," and she responded with, "Yeah, I know." It was very anticlimactic, and I was almost disappointed because I had spent so much time preparing, and it was over in 2 seconds. When I came out as Pan, it was a lot less stressful and went just as smoothly. I showed her a picture of an androgynous person. I mentioned how attracted I was, and she supported that once I explained what androgyny was. She mentioned she wasn't surprised, so I often dressed that way at the time. My gender, honestly, is more of a recent development. I've always enjoyed dressing in men's clothes from the time I was little. I didn't really start questioning my gender until probably a little after high school ended. I mainly identify as genderqueer. The full explanation is that if 1 is female and 5 is agender and 10 is male, I hover between 2 and 5. It changes by day or hour or minute. I usually go by she, her pronouns because it's easier and it doesn't cause any discomfort for me, but I also really like they, them. I never really had a specific coming out moment. If someone asks, I usually tell them, but I've never really been the one to bring it up. If my mom watches this, it'll probably be the first time she's heard about it. I've never really felt the need to come out to each person I meet. I make comments sometimes about finding people who aren't male attractive, but I very rarely spell everything out if I'm not asked. I want to start going by Riley by a multitude of reasons. I've never really been a fan of Delaney. I also feel like I'm starting to really carve my own path and start doing things my own way, and I feel like I need a new name to signify this. I picked Riley because the 2 things that I've always liked about my birth name is that it's mostly gender neutral but often feminine, and that is Irish. And Riley follows that pattern. Gender/sexuality minority education is a huge passion of mine, and I'm hoping to continue learning and passing on my knowledge to other people. So I guess this is my reintroduction to the world. I'm Riley, a genderqueer pansexual who is very scared of being an adult and facing the world, but also excited.